Hello and welcome to another edition of Executive Corner Expert Talks. I'm James Preston and today we'll be diving into the world of silica sand, and the best way to do that is to sit down with the Managing Director of VRX Silica, Mr. Bruce Maluish. Bruce, thank you so much for being here today with me.
Thanks, James.
Now Bruce, first and foremost, take us through VRX Silica and what the company is aiming to do.
We're an exploration company at the moment, but we want to be a production company. We have a number of projects. We've got 4 projects now that we're developing and getting approvals in place to start mining and exporting.
Now, you've mentioned the projects there. Where exactly are they located?
All in Western Australia. We have 2 at Arrowsmith, which is about 270 k's north of Perth. Another at Maluish, which is about 50 k's north of Perth. And another about 100 kilometres east of Esperance. All pretty high grade silica sand.
Now take me through the grades of silica sand. Obviously there are different grades of sand no matter what kind of product we're talking about, but what's the benefit, for example, of having a very high grade of a particular product?
They go into different markets. Ultimately it's different glass products. So if you can get a very low iron, and low iron tends to be below 200 ppm, you can move into what's ultra clear glass, and the greatest demand at the moment is for ultra clear glass, which is a piece of glass that goes over the top of solar panels. The demand is ridiculous at the moment for that type of sand. We can produce that at Maluish. But otherwise it's regular flat glass used in construction, container glass. The demand in Asia is about 140 million tonnes a year.
Wow.
Between container glass and flat glass, and it's growing at about anywhere between 3 and 5% per year. But really the demand for ultra clear glass is just going through the roof.
Is that predominantly the ultra clear glass also coming from Asia?
They produce, the top 10 producers of cover glass, the piece of glass that goes over the solar panel, are all Chinese. Not all in China, some are in Malaysia, but they dominate the market.
Now I understand as well VRX Silica has recently announced a new resource. Can you take us through that?
Boyatup, the one down near Esperance, 60 odd million tonnes, but it's a different product and it's different to our other resources. It's a lot finer and it'll go into a different market. So we're not competing with ourselves for our other projects. All of our projects produce different products, so they'll go into different markets. Some are larger than others. Arrowsmith, we would think half of our production there would go into the foundry industry.
Oh, wow. Now let's touch on the Asian market itself, because obviously that is quite a massive place for the demand of silica sand. Is this something that's continuing to grow, and do you feel you can effectively tap into that market?
Yes, we can, because of the supply side of the equation. The issue they have in Asia is depleted resources and restrictions to the better quality sand, which tends to be in rivers and lakes. So that the supply side of the equation is the main reason why we pivoted into this particular mineral to try and export, because they're running out.
And Bruce, we're discussing Asian markets, but have you seen any changes occurring in that marketplace recently?
Yeah, quite interestingly, every country in Asia has banned exports of silica sand. They're all worried about their own domestic supply, but the last one that was exporting was Vietnam, and June 15 of this year they've actually banned all silica sand exports. The week that happened we would have got 10 phone calls. You can imagine in the foundry industry particularly, you've got billions tied up in that part of the industry, but if it doesn't have sand, it doesn't work. So some of the sand that was being exported out of Vietnam was going into the foundry industry, so we've had calls from them. The bulk of it went to China for glass making, but it just took another supplier out of the equation, so all it did was tighten it up. So now it's the interest coming out of Asia. I get inquiries fortnightly.
Obviously there's a lot of different industries that utilise sand for whether it be glass making or foundry purposes. Is there a specific industry VRX is looking to target?
The foundry industry, certainly in Korea and Japan, and more recently in Thailand. And also the glass making industry, flat glass, container glass, and for Maluish, the ultra clear. But you'd be surprised where silica sand, what products it's in. You're surrounded by it all the time, not just paint, but you know, LED lights, LCDs in TVs, the thin film on the front, the backing plate to the TV, all your neon lights. You'd be amazed where silica sand is used. Sometimes it's not, you know, very high tonnage, but different quality. And very often, glass is very dependent on the mineralogy of the grains, whereas the foundry industry is very dependent on the grain size and shape. So it might look like the same sand, but in fact they can be used in different products and different uses.
We mentioned when we first begun chatting that you are looking to move more into the production side of things. When do you think that might begin to take hold?
We're in the last throes of the EPA approvals for Arrowsmith North. We're sort of in the middle of that for Arrowsmith Central, where we're sort of starting it at the moment with Maluish. And Boyatup to the south, we've completed a desktop study, so we're sort of looking at areas now to select that are sort of the most environmentally benign. So that's at very early stages. But we've got a full suite of approvals happening at the moment.
Now, outside of this shift into production, what's on the cards for VRX Silica over, let's say, the next 12 months and then potentially a little further down the track, the next 5 years or so?
We've completed all the engineering requirements to construct the plant. We're at the point now where we're finalising actual shop drawings to construct the plant. So as soon as we get approvals, we can hit the ground running. Initial production from Arrowsmith North at a rate of probably 1 million tonnes per year, and we'll put in place offtake for about 1 million tonnes a year. It's a classic industrial mineral. It's one of those products that you have to get into the market to develop the market. So we will develop that market and lift each of the projects potentially 2 million tonnes a year.
Now, I understand you've also had a couple of offtake agreements and some commercial partnerships. Can you take us through those? Yeah,
we've got a couple in place now, and we've recently shipped about a tonne of samples to about 8 different companies, and they're testing that for foundry sand, and they also do what's called resin coating, and that's for the foundry industry as well. Some of them have conducted that, and the response has been fantastic. They've all said, no, the great product, the sizing, shape is all perfect for foundry sand, so that's good. And we've also shipped some glass sand, and we're about to ship another heap of glass sand, and we'll get feedback. So I think in the next 2 or 3 months we should be able to sign up some more offtake.
Yeah, look, certainly a lot better than what I can do at the beach with a shovel, that is for sure. Bruce, just before I let you go, is there any other information you'd like to give to your investors and also our audience today?
The investors are probably a bit frustrated in the last 6 months with our progress. But it's very dependent on government approvals, and you can't make them go fast. They've been badly affected by COVID, and they're struggling to keep enough people there just to go through and meet their own timelines, which they don't. So often, unfortunately, we're sitting around waiting for EPA approvals, but we've got enough projects there. We keep busy. So we're developing now 4 different projects.
Yeah, well, look, there certainly seems to be plenty in the pipeline. I wish you all the best with it. Thank you so much for joining me here today.
Thanks, James.
Well, that is Bruce Maluish, the Managing Director of VRX Silica. And if you missed any part of that chat, you can catch the full interview on our YouTube channel. So make sure to subscribe. I'm James Preston, reminding you to stay apprised and invest wise with Kalkine Media.